Hi, I'm going to be launching in 5 days on the AT, doing my thru hike, and I have a question for Green Giant and for Voldemort. When you came upon a creek crossing, let's call it maybe 20 feet across, do you just go through it, ankle deep water, or do you actually take the time to step from rock to keep your feet dry? Thanks so much. Love your podcast.
If you were starting your thru hike tomorrow, what questions would you have? That's what we're covering on this episode of Stories from the Trail. My good friend Chris Clevenger called us on the Stories from the Trail hotline, 828-365-8041. Chris and I know each other from years ago when I used to paddle whitewater around Asheville. He was a river guide and took me on a few fun trips down the river. Now he's getting ready to start his adventure on the Appalachian Trail, and hopefully I get to answer his questions as well as he answered mine back in the day. I returned Chris's call, and here's what we talked about. I hope you enjoy listening. Maybe learn a thing or two. At the very least, have fun. This is Stories from the Trail.
Hello?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I'm leaving a message for you on your other line.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to call you back?
No, I'm just kidding.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. And you were going to ask if I was recording, and I am. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
So, a funny thing happened when I got your voicemail. I didn't know it was you.
Yeah, when I first called in, it kind of does one of these, like, leave me your name at the beep kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said my name then, and then it was, okay, now what's your question? And so I kind of thought the two of them would go together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, you're actually the first person to ever call it, so
I feel honored.
It's a Google Voice number, and I guess it does that. Let me see if I hold my phone here. Can you hear me all right?
I hear you fine.
Okay, cool. I'm just testing this.
So you're actually moving like the blanket back and forth in your fort?
No, I'm upstairs, just sitting in my office, so it might be a little echoey up here. Oh, hey, look, I just got a voicemail from you.
It's going to consist of me saying, "Hi, Gary, you're calling me on the other line." I'm going to answer that.
That happens. So how's it going, man? How do you feel? You leave day after tomorrow, right?
On to the AT. Tomorrow I'm going to be at Amicalola.
Okay.
And then Friday morning we're going to register, walk through the arch, and I think we're taking the stairs.
Okay. I wondered if you were doing the approach.
Yeah. Radioactive Turtle said you need to do the stairs.
Have you been there?
I have not. Just in pictures.
Yeah. It's just as amazing. And pictures just don't do it justice. Raging waterfall.
Apparently people boat it. There's members of the Georgia Canoe Club, about, I'm going to guess maybe 10 days ago to 2 weeks ago, there was a pretty good rain event, and they said that Amicalola Creek was running.
Oh, maybe pretty far upstream or downstream from the visitor center, but not the stairs, not there.
Yeah, I was like looking at that waterfall, and I went, I don't think I want to run that.
Yeah, it's what, like 150 feet of just vertical, not quite vertical, but like practically straight down. I wouldn't do it. So where'd you go hiking today? You said Wilson?
Today I am. Well, you're familiar with Craggy on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Oh yeah, yep.
The north side of it is an area that has a waterfall called Douglas Falls, and then to the west of it is an area called Walker's Creek. So I was kind of traversing in that area. Okay. Yeah, Walker with a W.
Yep. Getting
Yeah,
some.
it's real pretty.
Have you? I was wondering if you had done any shakedown hikes. Actually, Katie told me to ask you this.
Yeah, I've been out kind of in that area of east of Asheville, just sort of traversing up to the Blue Ridge Parkway. When you get close to it, it's really good climbing. It's very good training. And then I'd get up on the parkway and can kind of take a little bit of a break because it flattens out there and then drop down the other side. The other side is over by Warren Wilson and the VA hospital. It's called Shoup Creek. So I can kind of go from Douglas up and over the parkway and then come down into Shoup Creek.
All right, cool. Did you go by yourself?
Yeah, mostly. I was telling Katie that in March, I forgot my number now. I think it's 23. That's the number of people I've seen in the whole month.
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
And yeah, I think it was. I missed my days up, but it may have been yesterday. It was just absolutely beautiful, and I was out and I was just doing my water, had my pack off, and was filtering water, and 4 hikers came by and they were doing what are you doing out here? And one of the ladies just figured out right away. She was like, "You're training, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I had set a goal looking at the first couple of days, and I thought, if I can climb 1,000 feet, if I can go 10 miles and do both of those carrying 30-ish pounds of weight, I probably should be somewhat prepared to do the Appalachian Trail.
That's 1,000 feet over how far?
Over 8 miles to 10 miles.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad. That's That's pretty, I don't know, shallow. It's not steep. It's, 1,000 feet over 8 miles. That's not bad. When you start doing 1,000 feet over a mile or 1,500 feet per mile, I mean, you've been in the Smokies, right?
Yeah. You definitely. I take your advice too. It's like stop and catch your breath, and you're not doing this for any kind of medal. So.
You got all day to get there.
Yeah, and it's been just this past week has been so nice. Just the weather has been.
Oh yeah.
Getting out of that freezing cycle of just cold, bitter, snowing and ice, and it's been so nice.
It has, yeah. We've had I opened every window in the house today and just aired the place out for the first time since winter. Boy, oh man, it's nice. That fresh, crisp. It was 73 degrees today.
Yeah.
Makes me want to fly a kite. So, you asked about creek crossings.
I did.
Yeah. Do we hop across? Do we wade across? Are there bridges? I seem to remember just about every creek crossing on the AT in the South being either something you could step across or there was a footbridge, not quite like the ones on the Foothills Trail, but like that. Like, okay, so in North Carolina and Tennessee, you'll see in the AWOL guide, it'll say, bridge across creek or bridge across stream. I'm not sure when it changes from streams to creeks or what the difference really is, but it'll say bridge and you'll get there and it'll just be a log just laying across the creek and you can walk across it. And then you'll get up to Virginia and it'll say, bridge across a creek, and it'll be like this constructed thing with like stairs and handrails and like a suspension system. And then you get up north to I think it doesn't really start until Maine, but you'll see creek crossing, and there's like a rope strung from one end to the other for you to hang on to, and you're going into waist deep water.
Yeah.
So, but that's up north.
Yeah.
You've done those kind of crossings before, right?
Yeah. What I had happen was when I first was trying it out, I didn't really understand the value of having trekking poles.
Oh, okay.
And I would, have this extra weight on my back, which raised my center of gravity. And I would try and sort of walk from rock to rock. And a couple of times the rock would move and my foot would slide off and I'd get it all wet.
Yep.
And I realized that sometimes I thought, why am I going through all of this effort to step from rock to rock to rock when I could just walk through this? It's ankle deep and just get to the other side. And I decided to try it one time to see, like, would my feet get cold or anything like that. But because I was wearing the merino wool socks, within 100 yards or so, my feet were back to warm and didn't really care. And so I thought, well, maybe this idea that you really need to keep your feet dry as much as possible because they're going to get wet from sweat and so forth. Or I could see you saying, like, if I see a creek, I just walk right through the middle of it, and why bother falling and that kind of thing.
In the summertime, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I've got the right shoes and socks, I found that with my Gore-Tex shoes and like Smart Wools or Darn Tough socks, even when they are completely soaking wet, I can probably about 8 or 10 miles of that before it starts to become uncomfortable. They're just good, comfortable shoes while wet, So, but usually what I'll do, like if I know I'm only going to have one, like one crossing for a while, I'll take off my shoes and either go across barefoot or put on my Crocs just so I don't have wet shoes all day. But if I know there's going to be like 12 creek crossings in the next 5 miles, I'll just say, screw it, I'm just going to walk right across. Too much hassle.
Got it. Well, I'm carrying both. I have AWOL's guide, and I'm not taking the whole book. I'm just going to take, I think I'm taking the first 200 or 300 miles with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also got these. They're probably they would fit maybe in the size of the palm of your hand. And it's
go ahead.
And so it's got shelters, it's got elevation changes, mileage. Doesn't have water sources, but I was thinking between the two of those, I should be fairly well oriented as to where I am.
Is that Pocket Guide the little one that they sell? I think it's at REI. It's like just each state. Yeah, I started with that too.
Yeah, and you found that wasn't really worth it after a while?
I switched to just the AWOL guide.
Okay.
And are you doing a bounce box?
I don't know. I'm going with a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Durango, and his wife's name is Mouse. And we sort of talked about it a little bit. And Durango his kind of attitude is, let's go with the flow. Let's not, hem ourselves into something that might not fit our plans as well. So I'm not really sure. I think she's going to drop a couple things off as we make our way from Georgia into North Carolina, and then kind of see what makes sense. But I don't know. I'm trying to keep kind of an open mind and see what really works. It's kind of hard for me to anticipate what I might use it for.
Okay. Yeah, in general, just having that attitude really helps. Like being open-minded and ready to switch. Like you might hate the AWOL guide. Some people use, everybody has their own thing. Don't do something just because, just because Green Giant said so.
Well,
I'm not an expert.
Durango is but you've done it, and so you have this. And I still am so amazed that you started on May 10th. I'm like. I don't know how you were not okay, I gotta go.
Yeah, it was kind of an ill-conceived idea now that I look back, but I really put a lot of pressure on myself that I probably shouldn't have or didn't need to.
But I mean, did you when you started, were you kind of concerned that you were starting late, or were you just
yeah, I was.
Okay.
I did the math and I realized my average needs to be pretty close to 15 per day. That's even if you work in the zeros, and I guess considering looking back, that was kind of cocky of me. Like, I can do it.
Well, it's not only you, but also it's like you meet Megan, and fairly early in the trip, so she was doing much the same thing, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but she was also literally half my age too.
Youth. Wasted on the young.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 51%. Like I was 44 and she was either 22, 23, something like that.
Those are hard to keep up with. Yeah, Durango I think he's 15 plus years younger than me.
How's Durango get his name? Is that a trail name or is that a river name?
He's a guide also. I do not know how he got it.
River guide?
I think he got it as a river guide on the Nolichucky, starts in North Carolina, then goes into Tennessee near Irwin. And but I'm not exactly sure who gave it to him and how it came to be.
Are you starting with a trail name?
My boater name of Crunchy really caused me a lot of problems especially with customers, because when I first would meet them, and they would be like, "What is your name?" And I'd be like, "Crunchy," and they're like, "I don't know if I really want to go down the river in a raft with a guy with a name like that."
I want to go with a guy named like Roger or Steve or something, right? Or Melanie, not. My name
and it was
Granola.
The idea behind, well, for example.
Yeah, but on the trail, people, no one has to, they're not going to judge you based on your name. I just wondered.
Well, there's usually a story. And so for example, Radioactive Turtle, Gamera, Katie, she was telling me her name, and I went, there's usually like a story behind it. And as she was telling it, I was sort of eavesdropping, and she said, "Gamera, the one that shoots fire out of her butt?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's going to be a story behind that one. And I
did she tell you the story?
She did not. I just didn't want to ask. I was like, I don't know if I want to know if it involved a story in a tent and lighters or.
Yeah, no, it actually has nothing to do with the fact that radioactive turtle shoots fire out of its butt. So Gamera is the turtle that fought Godzilla in, Godzilla versus something. One of many of the kaiju or the monsters. And it came up on a hiking trip or a backpacking trip. We were out with Mark, and Katie had her tent pitched in a weird way so that the floor was bowed a little bit. Like the stake down ends touched the ground, but the middle was kind of like floating 4 inches above the ground. So she was saying she had a
interesting.
She had a hover tent. And you know how Mark likes to latch onto things and like give people nicknames and stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh, you got a trail name. You're Hover Turtle. We're gonna start calling you Hover Turtle." And she's like, "Nah, I don't. It's too simple. I don't like it." But she came up with Gamera because Gamera is a turtle that can fly too. If you ever watch the old Godzilla movies, you see the turtle like shoots fire out of her butt, but uses it to hover in the air while fighting. So
yes,
yeah, Gamera.
And I think it also. I think Gamera breathes fire too, or is that just Godzilla?
Godzilla shoots like a radioactive blast that's not really like flame, but it.
Yes.
I'm not an expert. I'm not. Yeah, you should not listen to me. I don't know anything about Godzilla. Oh, we were talking about your name, Crunchy. So was there a story behind Crunchy?
Yeah. Simply put, I was at a rafting company, and there were. My name Chris is quite common, and there were, I think at the time, maybe 3 or 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the river manager was outside looking for one of the guys named Chris, and his last name started with the letter P. So he got the river name of Chris P. And then
here's a C.
Yeah, and so he kind of decided to call me Crunchy for some reason. So, and it became kind of Captain Crunchy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because of the river guide thing.
Sure.
And every year I would go back and I would hope that it would sort of die and I could, just sort of have a name that was more like a trail name that had a story behind it.
I got you. So when you
somebody would
go ahead.
Well, somebody would be there who knew me from before, and they would be like, "Oh, hey, Crunchy," and I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
Here we go.
Yep, here we go.
I was going to ask, when you introduce yourself on the trail, will you say Chris or Crunchy? But I guess because it's really up to you.
Yeah, I always introduce myself as Chris, and invariably someone says it, and so I may end up being. I don't know. I enjoy trail names that. Oh, for example, Megan's. When she first said, she's like, "I know nothing about popular culture." I was like, "Yay!
Perfect!
Yay! Sum it up!" Yeah, and then she's like, "And my trail name is Voldemort or whatever it is."
she doesn't know what it is.
I went, "Oh, I don't know what that is." So I had to go and Google it, and it. Forgive me, Harry Potter.
Oh, so you don't know either? Yeah,
I didn't know either. It's a guy. Right. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm like, but I have no idea what the reference is. So why is Megan Voldemort? What is the character, and how does she? Is she just tall and he's tall? Or
nope. It's got nothing to do with that. In fact, this is another one that Katie came up with, and Katie comes up with good trail names. So Megan and I were hiking together for about a week or so, and we kept trying to come up with trail names for her. And other people, like weeks before I met her, were also trying to come up with trail names for her, and none of them would stick. They all were just. It's wrong. You don't have to accept a trail name. You can reject as many as you want, but she rejected like 15 trail names. So we started calling her She Who Shall Not Be Named. And if you've read Harry Potter or seen the movies, Voldemort is He Who Shall Not Be Named. So that was close enough. Katie said we should call her Voldemort. And Megan, no clue. She's totally, cut off from pop culture, didn't know what a Voldemort was. And we told her it's an evil wizard who wants to kill a kid. And she was like, yes, I accept.
Yeah. Okay. Now I love it.
There you go.
So, all right, so let me ask. Assuming that you start Nobo, you're at Springer,
Mm-hmm.
about how many miles into this thing does pretty much everybody have a trail name? And how many miles into it, it's like really nobody has a trail name?
Oh, dude, there's people who get it on day one, and then there's people like Lemmy did the whole thing without getting a trail name. Like Lemmy's just his real name, just nothing stuck. Yeah, it's totally random.
I thought it was this.
And sometimes there's a story behind it. Sometimes it's just tall guy, green shirt. And you don't have to accept. So, popular thing people say on the trail. They say your trail name is whatever you answer to. So you don't have to. If somebody starts calling you Jingle Bells or something,
I would have to look at him and go, why?
Yeah. Yeah. So it seems like probably by the time you get to Damascus, maybe 75% of the people have their trail name. And if you don't have one by then, you're probably not getting one. And that's not a big deal. Like some people just don't want them, or something doesn't fit, or I don't know. It doesn't have to be a thing. It's optional.
I really thought, because of the I call them trail books. I'm not really sure what they are, but the ones that are in the shelters that people use to communicate.
Oh yeah. The registers.
The registers. I thought that the trail names were kind of to prevent, like, for example, my name being Chris, there's probably 40 Chris's out there.
Yeah.
And so I thought that the trail name was sort of this, call signs that they use in the military and so forth, just to prevent confusion. I had no idea that there was this, there's a story behind this happened and so forth. And when I first heard yours, I was I was like, were you like getting up and going like, ho, 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 or something? I was like, what is he? Did he eat nothing but green giant vegetables on the whole trail?
Yeah, I carried a can of beans with me the whole way, a can of peas. Oh, go ahead.
I knew a boater, and she was rather, how do I say this politely? She's short.
Okay, all right, okay.
Her name, her river name, was Little Sprout.
Okay.
And, which was the Green Giant's kind of sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first heard your name, I was like, I wonder if he ended up hiking with her, and that was how this came to be, or something. But
my nephew got the trail name Sprout when he came out with my brother Jim to visit me on the AT. They came out, and when I was going through Pennsylvania, they came out and spent a night at a hostel. And Jacob was, I think he was like 11 or 12 at the time, so he was kind of short, compared to me. And we got some pictures of him like wearing my hat and wearing my pack, which is just like as big as he was. And my mom saw the pictures and said, "Oh, it's Sprout," because he's hanging out with Green Giant.
Yeah, that's awesome. You got him out there. I'm a big believer in Richard Louve's book, The Last Child in the Woods, and how much we have lost with our generations growing up now who are not exposed to what the outdoor has to offer.
Yeah, there's a lot too. Man,
well, now, I mean, the discussion we were having about how it helps so much with different things such as anxiety and depression, and people are now coming out there to clear their heads and stuff like that. And it's kind of, that's the theme I've seen more and more through the years of how therapeutic the wilderness is.
That's been coming up in a lot of conversations recently too. Yeah, like people are just kind of fed up with what's going on, and they just need to go listen to some birds sing for a while. I know I do.
Yeah.
Man, I'm jealous. I'm a little jealous. I kind of wish I was out there. I think that every time I talk to somebody who's starting.
Well, it's to do it the first time, I know in my head I have all these preconceived ideas about what's going to happen and how and so forth, and then of course reality is going to sharpen some of those ideas and kill others, and that's really something to do something of this magnitude and just to be blessed enough to be able to do it, because a year ago I had my hip replaced, and I really wondered if I was going to be able to even walk and enjoy around the neighborhood kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you are. I mean, I saw you carrying a pack. What was that, a week ago, 2 weeks ago? You know, you're climbing up and down waterfalls and stuff today. I think you're fine.
I'm so looking forward to it, and I feel ready. I'm you know, the great advice that the people on the trail have sort of provided of this idea of just relax. You're out here to have fun.
Yeah.
It's not a race. It's not a competition in any way, and you make of it what you want. And if
you're taking a pretty easygoing approach to the whole thing too, aren't you? I mean, you're not necessarily doing the whole thing. You're just going as far as you can, right? Is that?
I decided that Damascus I have been to. So everything from Springer to Damascus I'm pretty familiar with, and have been in the area, know where it is, and so forth. But once I step forth out of Damascus, that's all going to be new. Like, I know you grew up in Pennsylvania. No idea. Never been there.
Oh my goodness.
My daughter, when she was very young, she used to refer to that sort of far off mythical place, and she would say Pennsylvania. Yeah. And so I'm, you know, I've never seen DC or New York City and all these things, and so it holds a certain interest just to go up there and see what it's like. Katie had that picture of her where I think she completed, was it 100 miles on the AT?
Yeah.
And as section hiking, she had used these really unique looking rocks. I'd never seen anything like it before. And so I messaged her and I was like, where are you? And she's like, oh, this is in Shenandoah. This is what the rocks look like. And so discoveries like that, I'm really looking forward to, just to get out of, you know, the Southeast where I've been pretty much my entire life and go see. So I made a plan that I'm going to go to Damascus to Trail Days. And then at Trail Days, I'm going to decide if I really am enjoying this and want to keep going, I'll keep going. But if I've, you know, my fun meter, I've had enough, that's far enough. I'm still close enough to, my daughter just had babies. Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
She had twins.
And congratulations to you, Grandpa.
I am. I'm a grandpa. That's where I am now. And I've been holding babies all day long, and they're just so much fun. So, I've already got it planned out. When I get to Hot Springs, they're not too far from there. So I'm going to hop off from Hot Springs and come see the babies. They'll probably be 10 to 12 weeks old, something like that, I think.
So Hot Springs should be about 21 days in or so, somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks, right?
Okay. I was thinking more like a month, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, between 3 and 4. See, that's based on my accelerated timeline. So, you know, if you can take a month to get to Hot Springs. Yeah. Like I think I took 21 days to get there, and that was my first 0. And I should have had at least 3 by then. But I tried to.
How were you feeling? Were you hurting at all and pushing? Or
I wasn't. No, I really wasn't. But you know, that's also back when I was like, you know, running, you know, 10 miles and, you know, throw it. I was doing P90X and stuff like that also, you know, and I hadn't destroyed my feet and wrecked my body. That's back when I used to be able to. Back in my day,
I used to could. Isn't it? Who's the country singer that has that song about as good as I used to be?
Oh, I have no idea. What was I going to say about? Oh, yeah, you were talking about like how up north, you know, when you get out of the Southeast, things are going to change a little bit, and that was like one of my favorite parts of the whole experience. Is like, okay, you and I have been down here in the Southeast for a long time, and like we know, you know, all the rhododendrons and the hickories and the red oaks, but you get up into Shenandoah, like the kinds of trees change. And like you said, the rocks are different. And even, you know, we've got deer, they've got deer, but their deer look and behave differently. And it just, everything.
Really?
Yeah. It's just a little bit different. This is a really nerdy, you know, kind of a nitpicky thing to notice, but, all right. You know, how familiar are you with bird calls?
I know them when I hear them.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay. So it's something I started getting into a couple of years ago, and the one of our favorite birds is called the eastern towhee. And he's the one.
Oh yes, I know.
Drink your tea.
Yes.
That bird? So I had noticed that, once I started getting farther away from North Carolina, they still sing the song, but they sing it differently. So like in different regions, like it would be like, instead of, they might go, just like weird little variations on their calls. And like everything has those subtle changes. It's almost like like people have different accents when you go visit different states and regions. The birds and even the squirrel chatter sounds a little different in different regions. And you just pick up on these subtle, tiny little things that, oh man, it's just so cool. So cool. I don't want to spoil it. You're just going to have so much fun. I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things is in the morning, there's this time when nothing's happening. It's just absolutely quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And then an hour later, the birds and various birds kind of wake up and begin calling, and it becomes quite complicated by the time the sun's coming up. There's quite a few different species that you can hear making sounds, and it's much harder at that time. But if you hear them kind of one at a time sort of coming out, I used to like to lay there and sort of figure out like, okay, I think he's that direction and I think he's that way.
Yeah, it's like when they layer the instruments on an 80s song.
Yeah,
keep bringing in
one
more.
Of putting it.
Yeah, I got that this morning, actually. I was up before sunrise and I got to hear, that very first bird, and then his buddy comes in, and then there's 10 more. And next thing you know, it's a jungle out there.
And it's such an enjoyable way to wake up.
Oh,
compared to that real world, your alarm going, yeah, it's so nice. I'm really looking forward to that for sure.
It's hard to come back, man. It is hard to come back from that.
Was that one of the things that you found when you got off trail to, because you came back and went to work? Was it the getting up in the morning at a particular time? And
not just the getting up at a particular time, but the way you get up and what you're getting up to do.
Yeah.
Birds gently arousing you to begin your daily stroll versus your reports are due at noon.
Yeah, it just feels very, very stressful.
Yeah, you got to ease out of it, just like you ease into it. So I don't know if you have time in your plan, when you get back, but before jumping back into, whatever career your job you have after the trail. I mean, try to, a month would be the best if you could take a whole month off too. But don't go back to work the Monday after Katahdin.
That's really, really good advice, because it's going to be such a shock for you to go into that world. I even find it now when I go to Walmart, I sit there and there's just so many choices to make.
Oh yeah.
I find myself just standing there kind of looking around like, I know I look like an idiot, but I don't have any idea. Trying to find something, you almost have to kind of like, what category would they put this in?
Yeah, and all the bright lights and the colors and the sounds that don't exist in nature. I think I had, like really close to a legitimate panic attack in a Walmart while I was on the trail doing resupply once. It was just too much. It was too much. I couldn't handle it. I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out.
Yeah. And the thing with me was that on the trail, if I want to stop, I stop. Yeah. If somebody's walking right behind me, then I know not to do that. But I stop where I want to and look around and that kind of thing. But yet when I go into town, you just can't stop when you want to stop. You have to think about, is this kind of a through area where people all walk or push something or drive or what have you? You have to kind of think about, where am I allowed to stop based on the culture? And sometimes I have to think and go, all right, where's a good place for me to stop? And what I'm trying to figure out, sometimes I can't see it from there. I have to go, all right, well, I'm okay here. I'm not going to get run over, but I can't really figure out what I'm looking for. And it's usually in the food aisle, like going to Walmart for resupply. And I was looking for, and I'm dying to ask you this question. Uh-huh. Here is what I have found. Okay. I have found in foil packets, I found tuna and I have found Spam.
Ooh.
And that's about it. I did find real heavy, they're like 7 ounces, Tyson chicken in foil packets.
Oh yeah.
But that's kind of it. I mean, are there other choices? Oh, that's kind of it. Okay.
I mean, unless you want to go with like, can of sardines or, Can of oysters. The hard summer sausages are kind of popular.
I was thinking about that. Did you have any concern about the fact that you're eating just so much sodium and preservatives in all of these foods since you're not refrigerating anything?
It's coming out your skin an hour later.
So you're just like sweating like white dust.
You smell like a meat stick.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's kind of amazing. Just, obviously you want the best nutrition possible, but if your choices are limited to just garbage, really, it's just calories in, miles out.
Okay.
I ate, I think I just picked like my average day and did the labels on it once and figured out I was close to 6,000 calories per day. Finished the trail 40 pounds lighter than I started. And my doctor still to this day looks back on my lab results post hike with nostalgia. He goes, man, can you believe how good your cholesterol was back in 2014? Can you believe how you were like an Olympic athlete? What's wrong with you now? What has become of you? No, it's neat because you see especially the cholesterol graph. Like you see those numbers, and then there's just this conspicuous huge dip, and then right back up to. Like, this guy eats too many cheeseburgers. But yeah, despite all of I doubled the amount of garbage I was putting in my body, and I still came back with like the healthiest lab results I've ever had in my life.
That is really interesting. Now, is that something you craved on the trail? Was it like, can't wait to get to town, I'm gonna have a cheeseburger?
There was that, that I think that's just kind of an always thing. You're just always thinking about cheeseburgers. But I would crave broccoli or cauliflower. My body was clearly missing the nutrients from hard vegetables, and I was like, I was dreaming about salads. I'm not joking either.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually thinking about grabbing during a resupply. I've been getting these plastic containers and then just taking out and putting into plastic bags of baby spinach.
Oh,
and then
that's brilliant.
I take like a handful of it and I throw it into my pot when I make. I don't know if it's pronounced ramen or ramen.
Uh-huh.
So at least it's got some green, in it and so forth. And I actually like to just kind of eat it raw. But because I was looking at it and I'm like, I'm not eating anything that has any kind of fiber to it or much nutrients.
No.
The way that I need it. And, once I get to a certain age, it's like, it's not so good for you. And my biggest concern was just the amount of sodium that everything contains. It's like, wow, I'm just tons of, and everything like ramen for sure. I think there's 2,000 milligrams of sodium in that little flavor packet.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so I haven't been using that at all because it's just pure salt. And the actual noodles themselves, whenever I put anything in it, I can usually taste the salt and everything in that. So
you bring up a good point with the spinach, though, that if I were to do something like this again, I would do the one thing I would do differently nutrition-wise is I would find some way to do what you just described, like add, lightweight vegetables, even just if it's the one extra, like bring an apple the day you leave town, get one more serving per resupply of vegetables. I probably would have been a lot healthier.
Well, I'm curious to see how it makes me feel. Because I find if I eat the junk too long, I get really kind of sluggish and don't really feel as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Did you ever see Seinfeld when George actually has some fruit and he's like, he kind of starts getting all jittery, like, I can feel it. I can feel it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's too funny. Well, I am so looking forward to the future Stories from the Trail food edition.
Oh, yeah. I got some good
ideas. I don't know if you get it into one, or is it going to be like part one foods that are cooked?
It's going to be a 3-hour special, and it's going to come out on Thanksgiving.
Oh, there you go.
It's not real. I don't know. That might not be a bad idea because there's a hiker feed in Hot Springs on Thanksgiving, and that would be a great day to like go talk to hikers about food.
I will let you know that I met Trail Angel Apple, who this was at Browns Gap, and he told me back in November, he was like, hey, they're doing a hiker feed in Hot Springs. And I was like, what? And so Durango, Mouse, and I went over there and met Miss Janet for the first time.
Oh, good.
And that hiker feed, I cannot begin to tell you how wonderful it was. The food was amazing. The fellowship was great. I really, really fell in love with the idea of doing this Appalachian Trail. Really, at that hiker feed in Hot Springs, it was that good.
Wow. Yeah, I
yeah.
wish I would have gone to that one. I missed it this year because of the wildfires. No, that was last year. We had the wildfires. The year before, we didn't go to the hiker feed because the mountain across from us was on fire, and we were worried that we were going to lose our land. But
Wow.
yeah, the hiker feed, the Miss Janet hiker feed in Hot Springs is, like you said, the fellowship is probably my favorite part. You just get to meet so many cool people.
Yeah.
And eat.
The first time I met Apple, he didn't know me from Adam. And he was like, I was walking up, I was probably maybe a mile or so from Browns Gap, had no idea where I was going. And he pulls up in a pickup truck and he's like, how you doing? I'm like, doing good. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just hiking. And he was like, well, I'm going up to Browns Gap. And he says, do you want a Coke or hot chocolate or coffee or donuts? And I'm just looking at like going, who are you? And yes, to all of those things.
Why are you randomly being nice to me? Stop.
Yeah. And I ran into a hiker. I don't remember where I met him, young guy. And I was telling him the story and he goes, yeah, I know Apple. Apple was on a trail, I think on the seat that, I want to get the trail right. Continental Divide Trail, I think is where he was. And he said he was just, he had bonked. He was done. He wanted to quit and he ran into Apple and Apple was like, no, dude, you gotta keep it going. And he said, yeah, he saved my hike. And I was like, wow, I just, these people are amazing. These trail angels.
Yeah.
And I'm
Legendary.
just so, I'm so glad just to be able to see people like this because they restore your faith. Today's world, I mean, it's real easy for somebody like me to go, I thought we were going to be doing a whole lot better at this stuff. I thought we were going to do better. And it seems like we're not really doing that much to really make the world a better place. But these people are. They, through the love of their hearts and stuff, they're just doing these things. And I'm like, they're doing this for strangers, which that's, to me, wow.
That's one of the best parts of the whole experience right there.
Yeah.
The humans out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, someone just zoomed by on a motorcycle.
Okay, Turtle and I got talking about this, and so I do not remember it.
What you got?
But if you're group hiking, so you have males and females, and they're all together, and they come to like, let's say lunch, and so there's going to be a bathroom or trail break.
Right.
There's a saying, and I was having this discussion with Turtle, and I knew I wasn't going to get it right, but I think it is that females go up the trail, and the guys go back down the way we came. So that we go like different directions for bathroom breaks.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
And it has to do with the way you go to the bathroom is how you're supposed to remember it. Where like ladies are wearing a skirt, so they have to pull their skirt up. So they go up and guys have to pull their pants down. So they go down. And I just don't remember it exactly. And we had much the same thing in boating when you stop for lunch and so forth. And it's like ladies go one direction, the guys go the other. I guess you don't know it. So yeah, it's just simply like, if you want to go, take a trail break and stuff like that. It kind of keeps people from walking up on somebody who's like, oh wait, I'm exposed here.
But it doesn't actually do anything. It's just, you got to remember, just go that way. Like it doesn't like, because they're up the trail further, it takes them longer to get I don't know. It seems pretty arbitrary.
It was one of those kind of a mnemonic that you're supposed to
righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, when you get there, ladies go that way, gentlemen go this way.
So what if you're a dude hiking in a kilt?
You have to be smart enough to understand the exceptions to the moniker, or just, hey ladies, I'm gonna go with you and get over here. And,
oh, excuse me. Oh man.
It's just a wee bit different, I don't
know what that was. Super jealous. I kind of wish I was out there. It's a great time of year to start too.
When back in the old days when I heard about this trail and I think the deal was April 15th was sort of that's a good day to start on because it's 6 months from the October 15th kind of deadline for Katahdin. And so when I went to sort of sign up, with the ATC, they kind of asked you to register. And I began looking, and the numbers in April were just amazing in terms of the numbers of people.
Like how few people were going?
How many? It was
compare that to March's numbers though.
Well, March, when I signed up, there were 8 people going on the day and I'm going March 30th. And you've asked me several times to check and see how many people are going, and I haven't, because I'm afraid it's going to depress me, but I know it's way more than 8 people are going.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, at least double whatever numbers on the site, because it's probably gone up since. And half of the people out there
last year.
Half of the people out there don't know about registration.
Yeah. So that's the one thing, is I have been spending so much time training just by myself. I've been out in the woods, and I rarely ever see anyone. And all of a sudden it's going to be like, I wonder if it's going to be like, I'm going to see people like all the time.
Every day.
Okay.
Not all day, but every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll get plenty of solitude, but you're going to eat breakfast and have dinner with people.
I tend to just be a little bit of a talker, so
unless you stop early, you know what I mean? Like stop short of the shelter or hike past.
Yeah. Well, it'll be one of the things I'll be figuring out as far as what's best. But this shelter thing, I have a abnormal fear, I believe, of mice, just because of you heard of the hantavirus?
Oh yeah.
And it scared me half to death when the people were dying. I believe it was out west when I first heard of it. And I'm like, wow, these people are just not really doing anything that they would think would cause them to get a really serious respiratory infection. And it's just simply being in a shelter and breathing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I don't think that's happened on the AT recently, or in recent memory, at least. Yeah, I don't think
I know it's
about that. The mice are just more of an annoyance than anything else.
Start chewing on your bag or something like that. I don't know.
Burrowing into your beard.
Yeah,
the struggle is real, man.
I don't know if I can really. I think I would prefer to be out on my own, where I can just start wildly swinging with my shoe and be like, "This is my place. Get out of here!
I'm fighting a mouse."
Yeah. So, like, have you slept and you're in the shelter, and then all of a sudden it's like somebody's like right next to you that you don't know, and just wanting to kind of roll over and spoon with you, and you have to be like, "Excuse me, you need to."
Oh yeah, that's part of the reason why Lemmy and I are such good friends, because we cuddled so much.
Now, did you know each other before you started cuddling, or
we sure knew each other after? No, Lemmy he actually spent most of his nights in his tent, but yeah, I mean, when especially when the weather is bad, you guys will be squeezed in there pretty tight. You know how many hikers can fit into a shelter, right? One more? Yeah.
I did hear that.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, something is telling me that whoever was in there when there was only 2 people is probably like, seriously, it's getting a little crowded in here.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one, Lemmy would, I'm not joking, he would occasionally throw his arm over me, just because he didn't know. But there was one night where, and sometimes people will sleep like, they'll either get in the shelter and they'll all be with their heads facing the same way and their feet facing the same way. But once in a while, you get one of those weirdos who comes in who wants to put their head where everyone's feet are. Head up, feet down, whatever.
I can see that, right.
And there was this lady who was sleeping on the floor next to me, and I don't know what she was dreaming about, but she grabbed a hold of the foot of my sleeping bag and started chewing on it in the middle of the night, and I had to kick her in the face to make her stop.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought she was going to bite my toe.
All right, so I'm picturing a shelter, 3 sides.
Yep.
So I'm going to call the one with the wall the back.
Okay.
And the part closest to the entrance, I'll call that the front.
Okay.
If I were to walk into a normal shelter, are most people's heads towards the back or towards the front?
Towards the back.
Got it. Okay. So I would actually see feet and then a head past it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. Makes it easier to scoot out too, when you're trying to climb out, crab walk out of the shelter, your feet are already facing the right way.
That makes sense. Kind
Yeah.
of butt scoot to the edge and then hop down
That's
because you're
it.
on the upper level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
Try
if
not
you,
to step on anybody.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And I guess if you're sleeping with your head pointing out, you have to do like the scuba diver backflip out into the night.
Incoming. Boom, here we go. Well, here's what I thought is I went so much into a lightweight tent because everybody's like, you can't pack a normal, tent. I'm like, I can get a tent for like $70. They're like, no. You need one that's very, very expensive. And I'm like, I'm going to sleep in that tent if I spent this much money for
That's right.
it.
That's right.
I will be extremely disappointed if I'm not using it a lot, but I don't know. I can see, especially with it really raining and being miserable, that just the body heat alone, if it's in the 20s, it would be so much nicer to be in something where there's other people around to kind of,
Yeah,
I'm imagining.
You're not going to get too much of that. Not too many of those temperatures.
Really?
And-
I thought everybody
and the
says when you get in the
Smokies-
Smokies.
Yeah, in the Smokies you will. But like the people who started on March 1st, they've been getting those temperatures at night consistently every night. They're hiking through the snow. They're post-holing through waist deep drifts, and you might get a couple of ankle deep, maybe one or two knee deep days, but it's going to be significantly warmer and faster too. I was thinking something about snow. What were we talking about just 2 minutes ago? I just forgot.
How much warmer the shelter would be when it's really cold out.
Yeah. So sometimes, having your tent and being able to just stop, wherever you get tired, or, if it's a really pretty sunset, or you just find a nice spot and you don't feel like going to the shelter, you can just plop down anywhere you want. That's always nice to have. But there's going to be nights where like you're going to want company. And you'll just, the shelter's the place to go. You'll feel like, I kind of feel like talking to people or hanging out. And like, that's where you're going to go to get your social fix. Or maybe you'll get there and it'll be like, too many humans, just walk another mile and you've got your tent with you. You can just plop it down. It gives you a whole new level of freedom than if you were just going to shelter hop the whole way.
Yeah, I could see that. And then we're required to stay in a shelter in the Smokies.
Correct.
And that if the shelter's full,
Mhm.
you can go kind of next door to it, and
Yeah.
there'll be a flat area you can throw up your
Correct.
tent. But I may have been Mark told me that like if you're a mile or so away and that's where you peter out or whatever and throw up your tent, you can get a ticket for that.
That's true.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. And like I'm gonna guess I'm a couple of $100 for a ticket.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's in that
A lot.
neighborhood.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's federal, so if you want to fight it, you have to go in front of a federal judge.
Yeah, good
I'm
luck
sure.
with that.
Yeah, that was the point I was making. Yeah,
Yep,
good
yep,
luck with
yep,
that.
yep. Plus, the other thing too is you're going to find it's very hard to find a place to camp out in the Smokies. It's just so thick. I mean, but
Yeah, I've kind of been on the east side of it. And I'm pretty familiar with it, and I actually found quite a few places where I was kind of doing a lot of up and backs, and so I would go up, and I'm like, all right, if I'm not going to make it back, I'll stop here, and I can stop. In other words, rather than hurting myself or pushing myself or
Right.
that kind of thing. So I would sort of mark these rally points when I would go, to a particular hike. And as I was making my way back, I had no idea that if I stopped there, if I just went, all right, I've had enough, or it's getting too late for me to really try hiking in the dark, that kind of thing, and I want to stop, that somebody would come along and be like knocking on my tent, like, hi, get up, I need to give you a ticket.
yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really like to follow the rules and be.
It's easy. It's easy.
Yeah.
There's plenty of space. You'll see.
I just didn't understand it. I was like, wow, that's pretty strict. And
Yeah. And if you're just a regular hiker, if you're just so they make the exception for through hikers. If your start or end point is 50 miles outside of the Smokies, they consider you a through hiker. And through hikers, you can stay at any shelter on the AT. So you don't have to reserve your shelters ahead of time the way you would if you were, just coming in for the weekend.
Yes.
So that's nice. But you do have to stay at the shelters or near.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember back in, may have been December, I was in the Smokies and
I do.
I was hiking and this couple came up and we just started talking and she's like, yeah, the government shut down. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, the thing. And I was, at that point, there's a gate there. I was in the Big Creek area, and I thought, oh man, I got to go get food. And if they shut the park down, they close those gates like they do when there's a snow day,
Right.
and the road's impassable. And I'm like, I'm gonna get really hungry out here when the government opens back up. But they were like, no, they didn't. They decided to keep the gates open, and I was like, oh, thank you so much for that. And I'm like, I had no idea what I was going to do, because that area, there's really, in the winter, there's no place for food that's even remotely walkable.
No, not even close.
So I know, I was kind of like, and the cell service out there is pretty good when you get closer to like I-40. But where I was like, I don't even know if I could call somebody to come get me and get out of here, kind of thing. So you haven't heard anything about the government shutdown anytime soon, have you?
No.
Good.
No, at least not a planned shutdown. I mean, it's, barely running as it is. It might stall.
Well, that's good to hear, because I am hoping for, there's enough things that are just brought on by the environment and the weather and the trail itself to have to be like getting to Fontana and they're like, sorry, you can't go into the Smokies. They're closed for business.
Yeah, no, I think they
just further notice.
They don't staff it. Like you're just at your own risk. You can go. That's
what they said. They won't. That rescue would be a problem, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just take my chance on that.
Self-rescue. Yeah. Bring a rope. Pack a throw bag.
Sure, crawl all that way. Fine.
Oh man.
Actually, they were asking me that. So I'm going to ask you, my daughter said, what are you taking for first aid? And I told her the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I have
not much.
Not one. I have 2 Band-Aids.
One for each blister.
Yeah. I was like, well, I don't know. So what did you take for, that would be in a first aid? And you can include ibuprofen in that if you want to.
You pretty much listed the whole thing right there. A couple of Band-Aids and some ibuprofen. That's it.
All right, good.
I'm not kidding either. That's it. Like no sutures or splint kits or anything. A little bit of ibuprofen, some Band-Aids. I don't get blisters, so I didn't really carry a blister kit. Nail clippers. That's it, man. I mean, if I needed something, I was relying on getting to town or getting to someone who was better equipped, and I didn't really need it.
I wonder if I'll run into maybe a paramedic or something who's like, brought my kit with me.
Yeah, you will actually. Yeah, you'll see people with those giant, 4-pound, that red canvas bag with a white cross on it that you see at Dick's Sporting Goods. Has a snake bite kit and a couple of aluminum poles to make a splint in case you break your ankle.
Yeah,
see the other thing. So also, if you you river guided?
Yes.
You wilderness first aid trained?
Yes.
So you can improvise most of the materials that you need.
Yeah.
In that situation. Right. But if you
need
antibiotics or a quick antiseptic, pour some hand sanitizer into the open wound and limp your way to a road crossing, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
where your kind of ingenuity comes into play, and
you're
also with a big group of people, so there's probably going to be a pretty good chance that somebody's going to come along and be like, hey.
Yeah. And even though, so you're 3 to 5 days between towns, but you'll be surprised how many road crossings there are that, in a pinch, you can get some help.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And also I'm not going to be by myself. There's going to be, my buddy's going with me, Durango. So, I imagine that's kind of one of those worst case scenario. You can actually send somebody and say, hey, go. I'm not, ambulatory, that kind of thing. It's
right.
well, somebody can go get help and so forth. So I'm feeling really, pretty confident. But I do know there's probably a good number of people out there who contemplate going out into a wilderness type area, and that's their big concern is, what happens if I do get hurt? Am I going to die out here, or am I just going to suffer and be uncomfortable for a little while, or is somebody actually going to walk by and go, I got a flask and
there you go. That is
fine.
Your most likely scenario right there. You'll get plenty of time alone while you're out there, but really you'll probably never go more than an hour or two without seeing other humans.
that's going to be surprising for me because it's definitely not what I've been experiencing.
It's a busy trail, especially this time of year, especially down here.
Yeah. When do you think it'll start kind of thinning out? Because it's, whenever you have a mass start, like in a race, it's after about a mile or so, everybody kind of starts spreading out.
Oh, yeah.
Is it probably maybe after North Carolina?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Most people quit. I mean, a huge amount of people quit within the first week. So
and that's kind of the Georgia area.
Yeah, Georgia, partway through North Carolina. By the time you get to Virginia, you've got, the people who are going to make it, barring unforeseen circumstances. Then it's going to be like, by that point, the people who have left who are like, oh, I've decided this isn't for me. Past Virginia, what's taking people off the trail is, problems back home. I ran out of money. I broke my ankle, or, that kind of thing. Catastrophes.
Yeah. That makes sense because it reminds me of being in the military where, once you get in shape through basic training and so forth, it's like, that's usually not a concern about completing other training. You're kind of the best you can be at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Once you get over that initial hump, it's just a matter of keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Now, okay. So if you didn't take many of these, but I'm hearing stories of people who are taking like zeros of 3-4 days and stuff like that. And they're saying that they're actually can feel when they get back out and start hiking that they're quote out of shape.
I did a couple double zeros, and that first day back, man, you've got at least 10 extra pounds of food in your body just from binging for 2 days. Your pack is full because you're getting ready for another long stretch between resupplies. And they they never put the towns at the tops of the mountains. So you're always climbing out of town. So like, even if you just stop for a couple hours, you feel like you're out of shape getting back to the trail.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. A couple of days, especially if 2 of those days, a lot of people like to drink in town, that really doesn't help you hike. But
that would be a very, I could see, trying to drag yourself into a meeting the next morning after having
exactly
pretty tough.
Yep.
But to put on a 30-pound pack and go up a mountain is
and it's 90
with a
degrees
hangover,
and you just you just loaded up with 10 pounds of food and your stomach is full and those eggs you had for breakfast are gurgling. That's when you go, I'll take a 000. I'll stay one more day. And the next thing you know, you're doing work for stay at a hostel. Next thing you know, you live in Damascus.
You begin planting flowers in front of your tent.
You're on a first name basis with a librarian.
Well, talk about zeros. This goes back years and years ago. There used to be the best little kind of cafe in Hot Springs, and their specialty were milkshakes made with real ice cream.
Ooh, yeah.
And the amazing thing was that these were like $2, and they were good size, like 20-ounce milkshakes. And they had a trail register. And I was sitting there and reading it, and people would be like, made it to Hot Springs, so excited, gonna have a banana milkshake. And you could follow it like day after day where this person was like, one more milkshake and I'm hitting the trail.
One more, just one more.
Yeah, the next day, really got to get back on the trail, but these milkshakes are just too good. And I was like, yeah, I could see how the luxuries of civilization can kind of come in there. But it was like you could have a club sandwich, fries, and a drink, and it was like $2.75.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow. And they were like, well, welcome to Hot Springs. This is just how we do things here.
Yeah, that is hiker friendly right there, man.
Yeah. There were the laundromat right by the railroad tracks.
Yep, and
that's where they used to be.
Hey, when you get to Hot Springs, let me know. Or when you're closing in on it, give me a call. I'll come see you if I can.
Yeah, that sounds
I'll try
awesome.
to find the time.
Yeah, it's I've been up to Max Patch. I hiked there from Browns Gap, and that Max Patch view, I'm hoping the timing works out, but that is just such an amazing place just to be there and be able to look out and see these views.
You're going to love it.
I really can't wait.
Oh, you're going to love Grayson Highlands, just north.
That's where the horses are, right?
Yeah, yep. Same kind of deal there with 360-degree views of just, you're above tree line a little bit. And, I'm jealous. I'm getting jealous.
Well, I'll make sure that I try and rub it in and be
Do.
like, if you were here, you could see this.
I wish I was. Hey, I need to get going, man. I
Yes.
heard Katie. She's already had her shower, and I hear her plates moving around out in the kitchen. I'm supposed to be making dinner. I'm shirking my duties to talk trail.
Well, tell her I said hi.
I will, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna post. I think I'm gonna be posting on Facebook, as far as where we are and stuff like that. I've got a couple people who are like, "How are we gonna keep track of you?" And I'm like, I don't know any other way to do it besides Facebook. It's just when I get to town to post. Here's where I am. This is how far I've gone, and that kind of thing. So
You're in the stories from the trail group, right?
I am.
Put some pictures in there. Give us updates.
Yeah, I will. Actually, I'll probably start tomorrow with the thing about Amicalola that I'm dying to know about is how it's kind of laid out and
Okay.
how it works and stuff like that. Because that was the big question I had first launching was, do I start in Amicalola or do I go up to Springer? And through my research and stuff like that, I found it's probably much better to go out of Amicalola. And as you said,
I agree.
I think that that's going to be the starting point here within a few years because of just convenience and other factors.
Yep. And I mean, they're right there. There's a building right there. You'll see.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to.
It's nice too.
Awesome.
It's really nice. It's such a great start. Yeah. You get up the falls. Yeah. Look for a line. Tell me if you can see where the line is on the falls.
Oh yeah.
There's no line. There's no line.
No, it's like the going over Niagara. It's like just hang on and well, you might be okay or you might not.
I mean, you can do it once.
No. I think of The Simpsons where like Homer falls off of a cliff and he's just
Oh man. Well, good talking to you, man.
Same here, man.
Yeah, give me a call and let me know how things are going. Happy trails.
I will. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.
Jealous.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. Your hosts are Gary Sizer and Megan Thompson. Music by Lee Rosevere. The show is recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Gary Sizer, here at Blanket Fort Studios, which is just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening. Those eggs you had for breakfast are gurgling.